ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 12. Dhruva Mahārāja goes back to Godhead. So, we are done with text 7?
Yes, really, 7 and 8.
7 and 8 are done. Okay, we'll just go through a little bit. So, yesterday, His Grace Radhesham Prabhu, he had conducted a very important camp for counselors and leaders of Pune. And the way Prabhuji is so intense. In fact, he gave a very beautiful Bhagavatam class yesterday. Beautiful in the sense, very strong Bhagavatam class, and describing about importance of Vaishnava etiquettes and how one has to be, one has to be careful in dealings with the people in general, and especially with, the dealings in general he was describing. So very strongly advised that we hear yesterday's class by His Grace Radhesham Prabhu. It will be available on ISKCON NVCC YouTube channel. So just look for just yesterday's class, 11th January. So we come to text 7. Vrunihi kāmam drupayannmanogatam tvam uttanapade abhishinka varam vararha abhishinkitaha varam vararho ambujanath padayor anantaram tvam vayamanga shushruma. My dear Dhruva, son of Uttanapath. Okay, so he is very dear son of Uttanapath. His Dhruva is mentioned Dhruva less and then Uttanapath. Son of Maharaj Uttanapath, we have heard that you are constantly engaged in transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Lord, who is known for his lotus navel, Padmanabha. You are therefore worthy to take all benedictions from us. From us means from the demigods. Please, therefore, ask without hesitation whatever benediction you want from me. And who is me here? Bhagavan Dhaneshwara. Ask without hesitation because, previously when even Supreme Lord appeared there at a very tender age of 5, he had prayed, Swami, Swamin Krutarthosmi, Varam Nayachet. And this is known all over the universe that Dhruva did not ask for a benediction, but Lord knew the desire in the heart And therefore, Lord awarded him that benediction. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions, Dhruva Maharaj was already known throughout the universe as a great devotee of the Lord, constantly thinking of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right. And further, Srila Prabhupada describes that Bilva Mangal Thakur, saying that how mukti is very easy for the devotee. Mukti is standing at the doorstep, but the devotee is interested in devotional service and he has no time for mukti. And this is what the prayer of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadish kamaye, mama janmani janmanishware. Right? Life after life, we want to be engaged in devotional service. So, Srila Prabhupada concludes, in other words, Kuvera knew for Dhruva Maharaj there is nothing desirable within within these three worlds. And he's not going to ask for anything other than remembrance of the Supreme Lord constantly. So this is the character of Dhruva Maharaj. Text 8. Maitreya uvacha स राजराजेन वराय चोदितो ध्रुवो महाभागवतो महामतिः हरौ सबव्रे अचलितां स्मृतिं यया तरन्ति यत्नेन दुरत्ययं तमः. So what did Dhruva ask for? Very beautiful verse. Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, when thus asked to accept benediction from Kuvera, the Yakṣaraj, the king of the Yakṣas, Dhruva Maharaj, who is Dhruva? The most exalted pure devotee, who was intelligent and a thoughtful king, begged that he might have unflinching faith in the remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unflinching faith in and remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For thus a person can cross over the ocean of nescience very easily, although it is duratyaya, very difficult to cross over. Harau sabavre achalitam smritim yatha. Unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord and constant remembrance. Right, smriti is constant remembrance. Sarājarājena. Who is Rajarājena? Rajarājena is Kubera, who is the king of all kings or the king of the Yakṣas. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that out of the Chaturvargas, the benediction of liberation is considered the highest in the material world. So Chaturvarga is dharma, artha, kāma, moksha. To be enabled to cross over the material nescience is known as highest purushartha. Right? Final purushartha it is, moksha. But beyond moksha, there is one purushartha, and that is pancham purushartha, and that is bhakti. So Srila Prabhupada describes about purusharthas here. And then, little later, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati has analyzed all kinds of benedictions available in this world. Right? There are benediction to become demigods, there are benediction to become a big rich man. So all benedictions he has. And he has finally declared that for a pure devotee, they are all has no significance. Kaivalyam narakayate, tridishapur akasha pushpayate. He says that Vidhi Mahendradischa kitayate. The position of Vidhi is Brahma, Mahendra, the Mahan Indra. So all these positions seems extremely insignificant when we receive the one drop of mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahamatihi. So here Dhruva Maharaj is mentioned as Mahamatihi. Mahamati, why become Mahamati? Because he could really look at the Dhruva's adjectives, Dhruvo Mahabhagavato Mahamati. He's a Mahamati because he exactly knew what to ask for, even when God of wealth was standing in front of him. And he asked for the highest wealth, and that highest wealth is pure devotional service. Little later in the final part of the purport, Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigods, whose only business is to supply immense riches to the persons within this materialistic world, is described as Raja Rajena because unless one is blessed by Kubera, one cannot become a king. The king of the kings personally offered Dhruva Maharaj any amount of riches, but he declined to accept them. He is described therefore as Mahamatihi, very thoughtful or highly intelligent. So Dhruva here is Mahabhagavata, a great devotee of the Lord, and also Mahamati. Mahamati means he exactly knew what to ask for. Even when God of wealth was standing in front of him, Dhruva exactly knew what to ask for. And therefore he is called as Mahamati. Now we continue. Text 9. Tasya preetena manasa tam datvai edavidatah paschyato antardate sopi swapuram pratyap apadyata. Translation.
The son of Ida Vida, Lord Kuvera, was very pleased, and happily he gave Dhruva Maharaj the benediction he wanted. Thereafter, he disappeared from Dhruva's presence, and Dhruva Maharaj returned to his capital city. Purport. Kuvera, who is known as the son of Ida Vida, was very pleased with Dhruva Maharaj because he did not ask him for anything materially enjoyable. Kuvera is one of the demigods, so one may put forward the argument, why did Dhruva Maharaj take a benediction from a demigod? The answer is that for a Vaiṣṇava, there is no objection to taking a benediction from a demigod if it is favorable for advancing Kṛṣṇa consciousness. The gopis, for example, worship Katyayani, a demigoddess, but the only benediction they wanted from the goddess was to have Kṛṣṇa as their husband. A Vaiṣṇava is not interested in asking any benediction from the demigods, nor is he interested in asking benedictions from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is said in the Bhagavatam that liberation can be offered by the Supreme Person, but even if a pure devotee is offered liberation by the Supreme Lord, he refuses to accept it. Dhruva Maharaj did not ask Kuvera for transference to the spiritual world, which is called liberation. He simply asked that whatever he would remain, wherever he would remain, whether in the spiritual or material world, he would always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A Vaiṣṇava is always respectful to everyone. So when Kuvera offered him a benediction, he did not refuse it. But he wanted something which would be favorable to his advancement in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Hare Krishna.
The son of Idvida. So here one can see how the parentage is always being referred to, right? And therefore it is very important to serve one's parents, at least not to trouble them. Sometimes parents, what I mean, most of the times, because India per se is a growing economy, typically we come from the upper middle class background. Our parents are not so much dependent on financially on us, but whatever, just the emotional support, calling them once a while when they are, it is very important to offer service to parents because parentage is always considered. Even we become a devotee, you know, Prabhupada taught his disciples, American disciples, that whenever you see your mother, you should offer Dandavat Pranam. So we know that Gargamuni and Brahmananda Prabhu, they went inside, they rang the bell, ting tong, and mother opened the door. There was nobody because these two were offering Dandavat. So mother closed the door, and again they rang the bell, and then she saw them standing. They said, no, no, this is our Guru has taught. We should offer Dandavat to our parents. It's very important. We have our coordinator here, Mudit Krishna Prabhu, and his good wife. They are well known for serving their mother for years together, right? For years together. Literally to the extent of, for many months, his mother was on oxygen, and both of them, they have their own clinic and a kind of a home hospital. They served her extremely well. And all those blessings count. Kubera, the son of Idvida, was very pleased. So, son of Idvida gave the offered benediction to son of Uttanapat. Okay, so both are referred with reference to their parents. He happily gave Dhruva Mahārāja the benediction he wanted, and thus Antardhana. He disappeared and Swapuram and went to his own abode. That means abode of Kuvera exists. Many times people feel, all this. Who believes in Kubera, Bibera, Prabhuji? Chhod do sab kuch. No, they exist. It is like mosquito saying, who believes in Trump and all? I don't see any Trump here, but Trump exists, right? So, and there are directions, and those directions also should be followed. Like south is considered as the direction of Yama. So, so similarly, there are these great Lokapalas. They exist. Swapuram. Swapuram is they went to their own abode. Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. They have their own abodes. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, Kuvera is a demigod and he's offering a benediction, and still Dhruva Maharaj accepted the benediction. Dhruva Maharaj did not say, look in Bhagavad Gita, it is said like this. No. Devotee Prabhupada says is always respectful to everyone. What to speak of great personalities like the demigods, who are in themselves are great devotees of the Supreme Lord. Right? We want devotee association, but not association of those devotees who are doing lot of service for the material cause of the Supreme Lord. No, they are also great personalities, right? But, and when they want to offer benediction, we accept the benediction, but the benediction should be towards enhancements of one's Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Srila Prabhupada gives example, just like the gopis, they prayed to Devi Katyayani. And who is Katyayani? Katyayani is Ambika, right? Just like, the girls, they do Haritalika Puja and Ambika Puja. So they were praying to Devi Katyayani, doing Haritalika Puja basically. And they prayed that, let me get. So the girls pray, the Kumari girls, they pray like that so that they will get a good husband. And now the gopis also were praying and they were wanting Kṛṣṇa as their husband, right? So there is nothing wrong offering prayers to the demigods. Only thing is that the prayer should be offered for enhancement of one's Kṛṣṇa consciousness. And therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went to the temple of Lord Shiva, he went to the temple of Ambika. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Kolhapur, he did go to the darshan of Lakshmi, Mahalakshmi. Mahalakshmi is Kolhapur Mahalakshmi is actually Ambika and Mahalakshmi both combined together. It is like Sadashiv is also Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu combined together, like that she is Kolhapur Lakshmi. But she is also considered as Ambika and Lakshmi both. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did go to that temple. And, so devotees, they are very, very respectful to the demigods, knowing the exalted position of the demigods, that they are very dear servant of the Supreme Lord. But they are not interested in asking some selfish benediction. That, Kuber say, we are meeting Kubera. So just ask, give me 2 islands in, Jambudvip. And so they are not interested in asking those kind of benedictions. This here is a classic benediction is asking, Harau savabre achalitam smritim yatha. That my dear Kuberji, please let my bhakti remain consistent and constant, and let me always be dedicated at your lotus feet, always the remembrance of the Supreme Lord. So this is very important. Sometimes immaturely, and nowadays there is another fad amongst ISKCON devotees, especially the YouTubers. I see one thing is, whenever we see YouTube, and whenever we see any YouTube, not only for ISKCON or Kṛṣṇa consciousness, I'm seeing YouTube titles and matter is so designed so that they will get maximum views. Not necessarily it is true, right? So, in fact, in the video they may speak something else, but the title is made catchy so that their view count will increase, and their that the whole other mathematics works after the view. So one should not go by the immediate view. And unfortunately, very very unfortunately, sometimes even devotees also are trying to use that trick so that they can grab the attention and people can come to their video, and people will click on the video. So devotees are very very respectful to the demigods. It's very important. Text 10. अथा यजत यज्ञेशं क्रतुभिः भूरि दक्षिणैः द्रव्यक्रिया देवतानां कर्म कर्म फलप्रदम्. Translation.
As long as he remained at home, Dhruva Maharaj performed many great ceremonial sacrifices in order to please the enjoyer of all sacrifices, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prescribed ceremonial sacrifices are especially meant to please Lord Vishnu, who is the objective of all such sacrifices and who awards the resultant benediction. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 3.9 it is said, Yajñarthat karmananyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha. One should act or work only in order to please the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, one becomes entangled in the resultant reactions. According to the four divisions of Varna and Ashrama, Kshatriya and Vaishyas are especially advised to perform great ceremonial sacrifices and to distribute their accumulated money very liberally. Dhruva Maharaj, as a king and ideal Kshatriya, performed many such sacrifices, giving very liberally in charity. Kshatriyas and Vaishyas are supposed to earn their money and accumulate great riches. Sometimes they do it by acting sinfully. Kshatriyas are meant to rule over a country. Dhruva Maharaj, for example, in the course of ruling, had to fight and kill many Yakṣas. Such action is necessary for Kshatriyas. A Kshatriya should not be a coward and he should not be non-violent. To rule over the country, he has to act violently. Kshatriyas and Vaishyas are therefore especially advised to give in charity at least 50% of their accumulated wealth. In Bhagavad Gita, it is recommended that even though one enters the renounced order of life, he still cannot give up the performance of yajna, dana, and tapasya. They are never to be given up. Tapasya is meant for the renounced order of life. Those who are retired from worldly activities should perform tapasya, penances, and austerities. Those who are in the material world, the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, must give charity. Brahmacharis, in the beginning of their lives, should perform different kinds of yajnas.
Yeah, it's a long purport. We'll read in sections. As long as he remained at home, Dhruva performed many great sacrificial ceremonies to please Yageshwara, Yagesham, to please the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is the object of all such sacrifices and who awards resultant benedictions. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the activities must be done as yajñarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. And the yagyas are especially meant to be performed by the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas. Brahmanas will be acting as the priest of the yagya, and the Shudra community. Again, all this, whenever we say Kshatriya, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, it is always based on Guna Karma Vibhagasha, not on the birth, but on the qualities and activities. They will also be receiving, they will be performing service and receiving many results of the yagya in the form of lot of charity. So Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, they are supposed to distribute their accumulated wealth very liberally. It is very important, right? Wealth is accumulated so that it can be distributed for the right cause. That is the purpose of accumulation of the wealth. Yeah, right. So in the course of earning money, there is always some kind of a sin involved. Here, the very example of Dhruva Maharaj, Prabhupada says that when Dhruva had to fight with the Yakshas and kill thousands of them, and therefore, the one thing is, whenever we say Kshatriya, he has to be very, very heroic, and he should not be cowardly, thinking that ahimsa is not meant for a Kshatriya, right? This entire ahimsa stuff came into, the Sanatan Dharma largely because of the influence of Buddhism. So Buddhism, they talk about a lot of ahimsa, and we have read that Samrat Ashok, how he became very, very ahimsa personality and those kind of things. But if you see our gods, Ram, Lakshman, Sita, even when going to the forest, they never gave up their shastra. Right? Shastra and shastra are very important to hold. So one should be, in one hand, one's shastra is there. Of course, they were Kshatriyas, so their shastra is shastra. Our shastra is our occupational duties. And shastra. Shastra is Gita, Bhagavata, Kariti, Shravana. So this is shastra and shastra. Kshatriyas and Vaishyas are therefore especially advised to give charity. And lot of charity they are supposed to give. So Prabhupada writes as much as 50% of the accumulated wealth. Okay. So one can say how much one can give charity. And when some devotees were asking how much, so if not 50, I told them that at least give, something like 5 to 6% of your CTC as a charity. And then we divided that charity into like 4% of charity for the Janmashtami donation. Say if I have 40 lakhs ka package per annum, CTC package, not just the take home money, because take home money will be much lesser. One third will go in tax and everything. So accordingly, so 4% of 60 lakhs is like 1.40 lakhs. So say something like 1.61 lakhs I give as Janmashtami, and remaining for book distribution here and there. So these are very, very indicative numbers. There is no, how about the numbers? Very, very indicative numbers. But one has to give charity. Why? Because Yajnadana tapadibihi pavanani manishinah. Even the greatly purified personalities are further purified by performance of yajna, dana, and tapa. So yajna is very important. Srila Prabhupada will be describing, and he always described yajna is sankirtana yajna is sankirtana praya. Yajna dana, dana is actually giving dana, and especially giving money dana is also important, right? Dhana dana is also very important. And tapa, performance of tapasya. We don't have to do any utpatang tapasya, regular tapasya. What is regular tapasya? That we eat only prasadam, we honor only prasadam. That is one part of tapasya. Second is we do not go to the hotels and indiscriminate eating. Hotel, we have one very good hotel, Govinda. ISKCON Govinda is the hotel that we go. And then what is the third tapasya? Fasting on the Ekadashis. And this as much as we can. That Ekadashi need not be nirjal, or we don't have to do some severe kind of a tapasya. Regulated, recommended tapasya is required, and that one should be doing. Yagyadana tapativihi pavanani purifies manishanah. When the great personalities are purified by performance of tapasya. Yeah, please continue.
Dhruva Maharaj, as an ideal king, practically emptied his treasury by giving charity. A king is not meant simply to realize taxes from the citizens and accumulate wealth to spend in sense gratification. World monarchy has failed ever since kings began to satisfy their personal senses with the taxes accumulated from the citizens. Of course, whether the system is monarchy or democracy, the same corruption is still going on. At the present moment, there are different parties in democratic government, but everyone is busy trying to keep his post or trying to keep his political party in power. The politicians have very little time to think of the welfare of the citizens, whom they oppress with heavy taxes in form of income tax, sales tax, and many other taxes. People sometimes have 80 to 90% of their income taken away. And these taxes are lavishly spent for the high salaries drawn by the officers and rulers. Formerly, the taxes accumulated from the citizens were spent for performing great sacrifices, as enjoyed in the Vedic literature. At the present moment, however, almost all forms of sacrifices are not at all possible. Therefore, it is recommended in the Shastras that people should perform Sankirtana Yajna. Any householder, regardless of his position, can perform this Sankirtana Yajna without expenditure. All the family members can sit down together and simply clap their hands and chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Somehow or other, everyone can manage to perform such a yajna and distribute prasada to the people in general. That is quite sufficient for this age of Kali. The Krishna conscious movement is based on this principle: chant Hare Krishna at every moment, as much as possible, both inside and outside of the temple, and as far as possible, distribute prasada. This process can be accelerated with the cooperation of state administrators and those who are producing the country's wealth. Simply by liberal distribution of prasada and sankirtana, the whole world can become peaceful and prosperous.
Yes.
Generally,
So, yeah, we'll go in section. Further, Srila Prabhupada explains, Dhruva Maharaj was the ideal king, and thus he emptied his treasury by giving in charity. And same thing we see with Yudhishthir Maharaj. So Dhananjay, Arjuna is called as Dhananjay because he was always hunting for money, always trying to conquer the Dhana, because Yudhishthir Maharaj always wanted to do sacrifice, perform sacrifice, and give great things in charity to citizens and the great service. Right. And this was the ideal monarchy. Later, the monarchy, what happened is, we know that very famous, the Queen of the France, she's saying that if you don't get bread, eat cake. And she was so disconnected. They simply started utilizing the taxes for their own personal gratification, and thus, the monarchy completely failed. They replaced monarchy with democracy, and democracy is also failing everywhere because the root cause of sense gratification is still there. Prabhupada says people are oppressed with heavy taxes, and all these taxes are utilized. Right. There is a sales tax, income tax, GST, and there are so many different types of taxes are there, and they are spent on the heavy salaries drawn by the officers and the rulers. Right. So currently, at least in India, we have a very pro-Sanatan government. Of course, they also have their own lacuna. They also have their own faults. At the same time, one should not become so dejected by the corruption that one loses the interest in electing a right king. This is very important because on 15th in Pune there are going to be elections, and sometimes when we see the corruption around, sometimes even BJP giving umedwari to such a corrupt person, this and that, we may become just disgusted. But that is also another trap of Maya, right? So yeah, there are problems. Nobody is Dudh ka dhula. And at the same time, when you operate in a field like the politics, things are not as straightforward as 1 + 1 = 2. So at least the top people have great intentions, and therefore one should not hesitate. One should not be callous about not casting the vote. One should utilize one's vote very wisely so that one can elect a pro Sanatan government, and we very well know what that pro Sanatan government is. Further, Srila Prabhupada describes about yajna, and it is yajnai sankirtana praya. Prabhupada said you don't have to spend a lot of money on yajna. Simply sit down with family, clap with the hands, sing Hare Krishna. If you have Mridang Kartal, then Mridang Kartal. Distribute some prasadam at the end. So, as far as possible, chanting the holy names and distribution of prasad is the Sankirtana Yajna. Simply by liberal distribution of prasad and Sankirtan, the whole world can become peaceful and prosperous. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura
Yes,
Bhakta
thank
Vrinda ki jai.
you,
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you,
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.